Welcome back. Well, recently, the Presidential Committee on Fiscal and Tax Reforms, headed by Taiwo Oyedele, presented a bill to the Federal Executive Council, which was later approved and transmitted to the National Assembly for passage. But we're not talking about how these reforms will impact Nigeria's stocks, some of the stocks listed on the stock exchange. Which one is going to profit from this, and which one is going to say, oh, this is too much for me? Well, to discuss that, I have with me Mukhtar Mohammed. He's the CEO of Finance with Mukhtar, joining me right here in the studio. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
And nice shoes, as I said before.
Thank you.
So here it is. We're seeing increase VAT exemptions for some companies. We're seeing maybe oil and gas, maybe companies that produce sanitary products or import that. 4% development levy on companies, 5% excise tax on lottery and gaming. Then we have the 5% telecoms tax. So it's tax.
Tax.
You know, at this point. And I'm sure you're looking, some might profit, some might not profit.
Definitely.
What do you have there?
Yeah, I think if you look at the tax reform entirely, I said this is one of the best economic committee that President Tinubu have established in terms of trying to get the right, they try to have a right balance in terms of businesses, growing business, revenue. The type of tax reform we've had before now is always about revenue for government. If you look at this reform, it tends to favor businesses, especially SMEs. The bigger companies also are not left out because, again, you see that income tax will be reduced from 30 to 25%. That is huge. Then you look at also the personal income tax also for individuals, especially now in the market that the Nigerian stock market is largely driven by retail investors. So what you see more money in their hands, and that money will find its way into the stock market. So you also see the oil and gas exemption tax there, especially for renewable energy, CMG. That's huge. If you look at the result that have come out from some of these oil and gas companies like Seplat and also Oando, you realize that that's one area that they're still trying to do so much on. And again, when you look at investment, and now you see there will be a reduction also, exemption if you tend to invest, especially in assets, oil and gas assets. And you know that a lot of those oil and gas companies are moving towards those asset acquisition, especially trying to localize a global space like the oil and gas sector. That also is good for the tax reform. Yes, you talk about the telecom sector. That's where I have a challenge.
Right, 5%.
5%, that is huge. And remember that before now, this was supposed to come up. The then minister got the presidential approval for it to be suspended. You know, the thing about that 5% is that it's not going to be something that will so much affect the company bottom line because it's going to be passed to you, to customers.
And we know these companies have been begging to raise tariffs. Most of these telecom companies.
No, you don't have an option. When you're giving them 5% tax, telecom tax, they're going to raise tariff. They're going to raise phone calls. But again, the challenge is that who is going to pay? At the end of the day, is you and I that are the consumers of this product that are going to pay. Sanitary product, if you have the multinationals still around, then you would have been excited. So that will go for
the smaller. That's if we didn't have most of those exits.
The exits. So that will go for the smaller businesses. So the good part of they still have some challenges in terms of, you look at investment. They also have a good one. Capital gain will come down. That's fantastic also, depending on the period you have to leave it. Foreign investor coming in, they will enjoy some exemption, especially in the area of infrastructure. Then you begin to look at some of these big infrastructural companies. You begin to look at the cement company, begin to look at the conglomerate that have suffered. Those could also enjoy. Yeah, then it all comes to like high net investors. Again, there's a challenge there. It's going to move that tax to about 25%. So now you might, and when you don't have high net investors in the market, and you don't have so much of foreign investors in the market, then retail investors has a limit to how they can move the market. So you won't see. I
know retail investors are dealing with a cost of living crisis.
Now, so you will not see that movement, that bullish movement that you see, because a lot of them will be holding it for the short time. That might not be good for the market. So then also the area of, especially when you call the high net investors, during the public offer issue, there was a little bit of challenge. If you're investing a very high amount of money, they are telling you to bring your 3-year tax return before you. So I think they should reduce those bottlenecks. It should be on the regulators to be able to know my 3 years tax return by just putting on my PIN and telling me, and rather than telling me to go and get my 3 years tax return, be bringing it to you. So we should try and see how we can broaden that technological space whereby even the stockbroking firm can be able to just key in there, just like we do with the BBM, and get these taxes.
Right, and definitely looking at, stocks to watch, at this point, what stocks are going to benefit once this becomes an act, at this point? What are you seeing?
Oando, Arada, Seplat, the oil and gas sector entirely will benefit.
Right.
Especially when you look at Oando, you look at Arada, you look at also Seplat. You remember they just did a recent acquisition. You look at the orders, they are seeing the marketing arm of the site. So the agreement they signed with Dangote could also be a benefit to them. So that is there. But again, those who are really benefit from these things are definitely the oil and gas sector, especially the CMG boss. Remember that Oando is already leading that space. So they are going to enjoy so much of it. Arada is thinking.
Now we know Oando is already up 500%.
500%
this year.
Beat inflation, beat
everything.
Everything. But now it's a good entry point because you've seen that slow down after the result. And when you look at that result, production, estimated production, within a month, they were able to do 36% increase. And they are looking at 100,000 barrels. So that is huge. It's talk to workers. Arada coming in new, coming with a lot of fanfare. Remember, they are also in the Renaissance group, bidding for some of those assets.
I'm looking at the price of Arado Holdings at this point. It did list about 700.
702.
Fell to a low of about 400 now.
Fell to a low of 375.
375, even lower than 400.
Yeah.
And now we're back at 533.
And with this,
Arado
we see
Holdings.
a lot of potential in Arado. Remember, they are paying 8 naira.
But it was expected, that people would take profit after coming out from
definitely,
the NASD
especially from those long deals and that. So you see stability in there. Towards the end of the year, I expect stability to happen between that 750, 800. Then we begin to see some of all these plans come into tune. Then you begin to see that stock move. MTN Nigeria, what's exciting about MTN Nigeria now is just the price. There's a lot of challenge there. Let's talk about the 5% tax, talk about the FX volatility. So it's still huge challenge with MTN, but huge opportunity. All it needs is just one regulatory pronouncement. There you go.
Right. Looking at, I know trading is on right now, but by intraday into close of trade, are you seeing a positive close for the all-share index or another negative close?
I said something about the all-share index. As it stands now, if the all-share index decides to close the year at where it is, you could say it has not really beat inflation so much, but you see that it relatively seems to be the only one of those things that this current administration can look back and say, look, you complain about our economic policy. If you want to declare our economic policy, the barometer to discuss is to look at what we have done in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. You should be excited about that.
And just the way Trump, pumped most of the market.
Yeah, the market.
Tinubu happened here.
The market is doing well, and that shows that we are doing things right. So, fine, yes, today, you see, in the month of November, going to December, you have retail investors. You're going to have those challenges of the ups and the downs. Good exit point, good entry point. So much to play in the market now, especially in terms of entry point. Exit point, yes, you could see some exit point, but it's very, most of them, the banking sector, you see those offers are coming in. You see an opportunity of a bank that is going to do its right issue at 35 naira and is selling off just at 32 naira. Good entry point if you are a shrewd investor. So there are a lot of good entry points in the banking stocks. Remember, they will keep talking about Fidelity. You can't say Fidelity is a tier 2 bank any longer. It's moving towards a tier 1 bank. Selling at 14 naira seems to be the cheapest. Access Bank too. If you look at its right issue now, you now compare it to FCMB right issue, Zenith Bank right issue, GTCO right issue, and even UBA right issue. You realize that Access Bank looks so cheap too now. So a lot of opportunity in those space with the little challenge of FX here and there. But I think the market definitely will close. What we saw yesterday, we could see a repeat of that today. But again, towards the end of the week, like I said, profit tracking might come in.
Profit tracking might come in. We'll definitely look out for that. But thank you so much. Always great to have your perspective. Mukhtar Mohammed, CEO, Finance with Mukhtar.
My pleasure, always, Ladi. Thank you for having me.
All right, so yeah, we've given you a sneak peek of what could play out in the market today and maybe stocks to watch at this point as we're in the fourth quarter of 2024. Which stocks should you be going into or getting out of? But definitely we'll keep educating you on that. But that's the show today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. I hand things over to the Sunrise Daily team.